The envelope sat on my kitchen table like a live grenade waiting to go off, my coffee going cold beside it. $10,000. That's what my Homeowners Association claimed I owed for a cedar fence I had built 8 months earlier on my own property with a city building permit already sitting on file at Town Hall. My name is Daniel Ortiz. I bought my house in Fairview Ridge 2 years ago, a quiet cul-de-sac community just outside Raleigh, North Carolina. I paid my dues on time every quarter, kept my lawn edged, waved at my neighbors, volunteered for the fall cleanup, and never once imagined a simple fence line would nearly cost me my home and my savings. The letter claimed my fence encroached roughly 6 feet onto a shared common area, violating Article 9 of the community's recorded CC&Rs. It cited a decades-old internal plat map I had never seen or signed, threatened legal escalation and possible court action, and gave me exactly 30 days to remove the structure or pay the maximum penalty the board could legally impose on any homeowner in the community. Something about it felt wrong from the very first read. My builder had pulled the correct city permits, my contractor still had photos of the original property stakes, and my own property survey, completed at closing 2 years earlier, showed the fence sitting entirely inside my own boundary line. Somewhere in a dusty county records office, one certified document was about to flip this entire fight upside down. Before we go any further, if you've ever felt like your own HOA was quietly rewriting the rules against you, go ahead and hit subscribe to HOA Problems right now, because more homeowners need to see this. We break down real property law, real recorded documents, and how everyday homeowners fight back the right way, using paperwork instead of shouting matches. The HOA President, Patricia Wexley, showed up unannounced on a Saturday morning, still in her gardening gloves, before I'd even had my coffee. She stood on my driveway, arms crossed tightly, informing me in a clipped tone that the board had final say over any structure inside the community, common area or not, and that my city building permit meant absolutely nothing to them or their internal rules and bylaws. I calmly asked her to point to the exact CC&R clause supporting her claim, and offered to pull up my own copy of the covenants right there on my phone. She couldn't locate one. Instead, she simply repeated that the board had already voted internally and that as association president, her personal interpretation of the rules was, in her own words, essentially final, until I could prove otherwise in writing. 5 days later, a formal violation notice arrived by certified mail, stamped with the official Fairview Ridge Homeowners Association seal, and signed personally by Patricia Wexley herself. It listed a 30-day compliance window, a steadily accruing daily fine, and a total financial exposure that could reach $10,000 if I refused to remove the fence and comply immediately. I called the property management company listed on the letterhead that same afternoon, hoping for some clarity or at least a straight answer. The manager confirmed the fine schedule was real, board approved, and already actively logging against my homeowner account. She casually suggested I simply remove the fence myself to avoid further penalties rather than waste everyone's time disputing the paperwork over a few feet of yard. 2 weeks into the dispute, board member Gary Holloway left a handwritten note taped angrily to my front door, threatening to place a formal lien on my house and to have my personal truck towed straight out of my own driveway for what he called repeated flagrant violations of community standards and shared covenants. That same night, I pulled up my county's actual HOA lien statutes online and read them twice. Placing a lien over an unresolved architectural dispute without any formal hearing or written findings first sounded aggressive at best and unlawful at worst. I started a folder that night, every letter, every voicemail, every date, carefully labeled, scanned, and organized by category. The following Tuesday, I came home early from work to find a surveying crew standing right in my fenced backyard, sent by the HOA without any prior notice or phone call, measuring my fence line with a handheld device while my dog barked frantically from the back porch. Nobody had ever asked permission to enter my privately fenced property, let alone walk through my gate. When I confronted the crew directly, they explained that Patricia had personally authorized the site visit on behalf of the full board, though none of them could actually produce that authorization in writing when I asked. There was no signed consent form, no advance written notice, and no scheduled appointment of any kind. I photographed everything I could, time-stamped each image, and added it all to my folder. That night, I emailed the entire board formally, in writing, explicitly revoking any authorization for future entry onto my property without my prior written consent, and requested written confirmation of receipt from each member individually. I kept the message polite, factual, and precise because I already understood that emotional replies rarely survive scrutiny once they reach an actual hearing room. 3 weeks after that first letter, I received formal written notice of an open board meeting where the association planned to hold a public vote on levying the maximum allowable fine against my homeowner account in front of the entire Fairview Ridge community, neighbors, gossip, and all. I sat quietly in the third row of that crowded meeting room, folder resting in my lap, while Patricia read my street address aloud and described my fence as a blatant disregard for community harmony, to a room full of nodding neighbors who had no real idea what my documents actually proved about the true boundary line. The board ultimately scheduled a preliminary vote for the following month, tabling any immediate decision at the last minute after a brief, tense procedural argument among the members themselves. That gave me exactly 30 days to assemble a case strong enough to stop $10,000 in fines, and quite possibly a property line, from ever touching my home, my credit, or my resale value. I started exactly where every serious property dispute should start, the county records office downtown, armed with nothing but a notebook and a determination to get answers. I formally requested my original recorded deed and a complete title search, tracing every single boundary change on my lot since the entire neighborhood was first platted back in 1994, long before I ever owned the house. The title search came back completely clean, page after page confirming it. No recorded easement crossed anywhere near my backyard. No shared use designation of any kind existed near my fence line. Whatever the HOA's old internal map claimed to show, it had simply never been filed as an official recorded county document at all. Next, I hired an independent, state-licensed surveyor with no ties whatsoever to the association to produce a brand new certified property survey bearing an official state seal, clearly showing precisely where my legal boundary lines actually fell in relation to my existing fence and the shared common area behind it, stake by stake. The freshly certified survey confirmed exactly what my original closing documents had already suggested. My fence sat entirely within my own lot, nearly 4 full feet inside my actual property line, with zero encroachment onto any shared common area whatsoever, directly contradicting every single claim made in the HOA's original violation letter. I then sat down and read the community's actual recorded CC&Rs filed permanently at the county clerk's office, cover to cover, twice, highlighting every relevant passage with a yellow marker. Article 9, the exact clause cited against me in the violation notice, governed fence height and building materials only, not boundary line placement disputes of any kind. More importantly, nothing anywhere in the recorded CC&Rs granted the board any authority to enter a homeowner's fenced yard without prior written consent, nor to impose fines exceeding the state's statutory cap on homeowners association penalties for any single violation, no matter how the board chose to interpret the rule internally among themselves. I then contacted a real estate attorney named Melissa Chen, who specialized specifically in HOA governance disputes across the entire state, and had personally handled dozens of similar boundary fights for other frustrated homeowners just like me. She reviewed my entire folder, the deed, the title search, the certified survey, the CC&R excerpts, and the photographs of the unauthorized entry, and confirmed I had an unusually strong documented case. Melissa explained that North Carolina law places clear, specific limits on HOA finding authority and requires proper written notice and formal hearing procedures before any lien can legally attach to a homeowner's property. The board, in its rush to punish me, had skipped nearly every single one of those required legal steps entirely and had documented that failure themselves. Together, we drafted a formal written response, carefully citing the recorded deed, the certified survey, the specific CC&R language, and the exact state statute limiting association overreach, then sent it by certified mail with tracking, to every individual board member at their own listed home address, including Patricia and Gary, with return receipts requested for our records. We formally requested the letter be entered into the official meeting record before any scheduled vote took place, along with copies of every single supporting document, so the board could never again claim, later on, that they were simply unaware of the actual recorded property lines involved in this entire dispute from the very beginning. The night of the vote finally arrived after what had felt like the longest month of my life. I walked in early with Melissa by my side, a neatly bound copy of every single document placed squarely on the table in front of the board, ready to be reviewed openly in front of the entire watching community and any curious neighbors who showed up. When Patricia reluctantly opened the floor for discussion, Melissa calmly requested the record officially show the association's own filed CC&Rs, the county certified survey, and the clean title search, each one directly contradicting the original violation notice that had been sent to my address months earlier and had threatened my home and my finances. Gary Holloway tried to argue loudly that the board's old internal map still applied, regardless of any new paperwork or certified findings. Melissa pointed out, evenly and without ever raising her voice, that an internal, unrecorded document simply cannot legally override a certified survey and a properly filed deed in the eyes of state property law and long-standing legal precedent. The board's own retained attorney, quietly present for the meeting at the back of the room, leaned over and advised Patricia that proceeding with the fine vote, given the overwhelming documentation now sitting on the public record, would expose the entire association itself to serious legal liability under existing state HOA statutes and open the board to a costly countersuit. Faced with certified paperwork instead of raised voices and community pressure, the board reluctantly voted to table the fine indefinitely, formally withdrew the original violation notice in writing, and issued written confirmation that no fine and absolutely no lien would ever be placed against my home, my credit record, or my future resale value going forward. The lesson from all of this was simple, and it stuck with me long after the meeting ended and the crowd went home. Emotions lose to documents almost every single time. A certified survey, a clean title search, and the actual recorded CC&Rs carried far more authority in that room than any board president's personal opinion ever possibly could. So here's my honest question for you watching right now. Wherever you're watching from, if your own HOA sent you a letter like mine, would you have quietly paid it out of fear or pulled your recorded deed and fought back using real documented paperwork instead, the way I eventually did? Tell me exactly what you would have done in the comments below. If this story helped you understand your own property rights just a little better today, go ahead and hit subscribe to HOA Problems for more real, document-based homeowner stories every single week. Drop a like on the video and share it with any neighbor who might need to hear it too.